Not far away, a girl screamed as she was pushed to the ground. A cultivator towered over her. God damn it, I put my life on the line to protect y'all. So, what if I want to have some fun with you? You should consider yourself lucky. A rising starlet slept with me just 2 days ago, but now I'd refuse her even if she begged me. Get up! The girl's cheeks were flushed red with anger as she stared at her oppressor, but the surrounding cultivators just laughed raunchily. These people fit right into this kind of world, where one could do as they pleased as long as they had the power. Whoosh! A quick gust of wind brought a new member to the crowd, his rod held against the man's neck as he indifferently stated, "Scram." The surroundings instantly fell quiet save for the soft sobbing of the girls. The threatened cultivator's expression soured and he gritted his teeth. This has nothing to do with you, Lu. They're under my command. You're too noisy, Lu Yin said emotionlessly as he slammed his weapon into the man's throat. Skin tore open as blood spilled forth, staining the metal rod a familiar color. If you're going to be that vicious, then sure. They're all yours now. I won't touch them. He then withdrew his weapon and calmly walked back to his previous spot, the silenced crowd watching with confusion. They had already grown used to such acts, and normally nobody would have stepped forward to save these girls, even if they were about to be killed. To them, Lu Yin was the strange one. The rest of the cultivators all shared a glance as they seethed with rage. However, none of them dared to make a move. They all knew that Lu Yin was more powerful than them. The girls ran over to say something, but when he closed his eyes with no intention to talk, they could only give him a look of gratitude. Not long after, a stunning young lady dressed in revealing clothing walked over with a smile. She stared at the girls until they lowered their heads in fear and was only satisfied once they all backed off. She then sat down beside Lu Yin and gently blew into his ear. However, the response was a calloused hand wrapping itself around her throat. One more time and you're dead. Still so heartless, the woman spat out, forcing a smile onto her face even as her eyes dimmed. What do you want? Lu Yin asked coldly as he released his grip. Ack, don't you know you've already offended somebody? She asked with a glare, rubbing her throat pitifully. When he didn't reply, she continued explaining. Zhang Tong and his group are plotting against you. They have over 10 cultivators while you're alone. You can't deal with them. Be careful. Thanks, Lu Yin blandly replied. The woman groaned helplessly. You know, I have some backing myself. I can help you out of this. All you need to do is ask. Don't need it. Sigh. All right. Well, feel free to call me whenever you want. As for Zhang Tong, don't worry about it. I'll handle them for you. See you soon. She flashed him a smile before turning around, leaving a hint of fragrance in her wake. Lu Yin simply closed his eyes again, completely unaffected by the woman's arrival and departure. This is known as the roving step, a type of battle skill that originates from the starry sky. Lu Yin responded to the unspoken question in his deadpan tone, an equally bored swing sending the steel rod crashing into Lu Sheng's skull. He just sighed and stowed his weapon away as the man went down, continuing to gaze at the sky and thought, I'm just a guest, but here I am stealing the show. He soon finished extracting the energy cores from the bodies of Lu Sheng and the rest, moving them towards a ring where they just disappeared as though they never existed before. This was a cosmic ring, a precious ornament capable of storing a myriad of items. It too had come from the starry sky. No one would bother with the disappearance of Zhang Tong and the rest, but Lu Sheng was different. He was a captain. His sudden disappearance would definitely draw the attention of the other captains, but he had hatched his scheme in secret to obtain Lu Yin's cultivation method. He'd already covered all his tracks, so one could even say it was his fault that no one came looking for Lu Yin. Afternoon the next day, this incident was thrown to the back of everyone's mind as tens of thousands of people looked into the sky. They had just received news that the executioner was about to arrive, so they were lying in wait. It didn't take long for a black figure to appear high in the sky looking down on them all. Zhou Shan was more than 2 meters tall, with short hair and a muscular physique. He carried an enormous 3-meter-long axe that seemed capable of splitting mountains, cutting an imposing figure as he hovered over the awe-struck cloud. So this was a man who could fly, a powerful figure in the realm of sky. He didn't utter a single word before raising his hands, sending an explosive gust down towards the people below. The dust blown up by the winds blinded thousands for a while, but the cultivators ignored teary eyes to stare at the powerful sage who was capable of amazing feats of destruction. Huge vines twirled out from the ground and lunged viciously towards Zhou Shan, but he just screamed out a roar that resounded in everyone's ears before raising his axe high into the sky. The wind gathered into translucent winds behind him. "Storm slash!" he shouted out loud, flipping and landing down on the ground while chopping at the vines. Huge cracks spread out across the earth as dust flew everywhere, gusts spreading throughout the surroundings. Fortunately, the captains of this group had been stationed up front and managed to cushion the crowd from the blow. Lu Yin kept a close eye on the events. Everyone had guessed that these vines were in the realm of earth, but he had felt that they were actually in the realm of sky. Zhou Shan needed to go all out to fend them off. A huge gust of wind blew past, and when the dust settled, everyone saw the executioner with his axe resting against the ground. The terrifying vines had been destroyed completely, and there was even a huge hole in the ground that was full of green liquid. As thousands burst into cheers, he picked up his axe and took to the sky once more. "Let us head to Nanjing at once. It is much safer there." "Thank you, executioner." "Long live the executioner." "Executioner." Thousands of voices screamed his title in exaltation. In these chaotic times, what everyone wished for was a hero. Just like the rest of the 7 sages, Zhou Shan fit that bill. Soon, Lu Yin gripped his steel rod tightly. He hadn't yet entered the realm of sky himself. Just like Lu Sheng had said, he didn't use energy cores to cultivate. He had to look for other ways to grow his strength, finding the true road of cultivation in the starry sky. The group advanced steadily under Zhou Shan's protection. There were definitely beings in this world that were much stronger than him, but the chance of actually encountering one of them was close to zero. A day later, the tens of thousands of people reached Nanjing. It was only then that many people started to put down their belongings and burst out in loud cries. Nanjing was completely locked down by huge walls, with rows of cultivators on each watching the thousands of lucky survivors streaming in. Some had sad looks in their eyes. This team had lost nearly a tenth of its total manpower since they'd started their rough journey. Lu Yin recalled how the city had looked when he visited in times of peace, a picturesque scene with ancient trees covering the footpaths. Now, its suburbs had been abandoned to the hordes of zombies, and it had shrunk down greatly. If not for Zhou Shan paving the way, the people would have had to fight a bloody battle just to enter. The survivors were organized into groups, while the cultivators were separated into another group. This group of cultivators consisted of approximately 500 individuals, and when compared to the total survivors, each one in charge of the protection of close to 100 commoners. Many people could start cultivating after eating an energy core, but unfortunately zombies did not have any in their bodies, and it was extremely difficult to kill the mutant beasts which did. Back in the camp, executioner Zhou Shan had set up a team to manage the cultivators. Every single one who gathered in Nanjing had to participate in its defense regardless of willingness, registering at the camp to have their battle abilities and health conditions tested. Lu Yin and the others were also brought to this camp. This camp was by no means small, occupying all of Nanjing. It was rumored that there were countless zombies and mutant beasts roaming around it when the camp had first been established. Zhou Shan had led the cultivators on a month-long expedition to occupy the former tourist city. With Nanjing at the center, the camp spread out in all 4 directions, allowing survivors to successfully reach the gathering point in Zhongshan, which was one of the biggest concentrations of survivors in China. There was a solemn silence amongst the newcomers in the camp, all of them looking enviously at the cultivators who were already in matching uniforms. They would join those ranks in the near future. Visit novel.com for the latest updates. It is an incredible feat that the executioner could build this camp to this extent in merely half a year, someone commented. Someone else echoed the sentiment. Many went into hiding when the apocalypse arrived, but the executioner immediately established this camp. It will be a dominant force in the future. Lu Yin walked among the cultivators and looked around at the soldiers who would pass by on occasion. These people were tough, true soldiers. Logically speaking, when the world was ending, there would be nobody charismatic enough to be able to form such a structure. and yet the camp was still here. There was only one reason. The members of this organization were all true soldiers, and Zhou Shan represented the country. The apocalypse did not destroy China. In fact, it stabilized the country. Zhou Shan was a member of the military, and even one of the 7 sages. If not for both of those connections, he would never have been able to reach the realm of sky in merely half a year. It was yet to be determined if it was a blessing that the apocalypse had not brought about a collapse in the communication systems, but if that had happened, it would have been impossible even for nations to stabilize in such a short period of time. Casually sat at the head of the table. His gaze swept over everyone in the room before resting on the young woman with glasses. "How's the plan proceeding?" The girl adjusted her glasses. "The initial plan to expand Nanjing's base will take at least 2 months, and we could lose up to 2,000 or 3,000 people in battle. If you want to expand Nanjing to its peacetime borders, we'll likely see 3 times those casualties." Zhou Shan frowned. "We need to expand the base. The northern expansion has been going well, and in a few months we'll link to the capital city. At that point, the whole country will be reconnected, and reclaiming our country's land will be easy. Showing weakness here will be a joke. Executioner, we just received word that the Tianzu monk has entered the realm of sky," the man with a scarred face reported. The room broke out in discussions at the news. The whole of China only had 7 realm of sky cultivators, showing the difficulty in reaching that level. For the Tianzu monk to reach that realm was a huge surprise. Zhou Shan's gaze cooled. "Kusen, investigate him. It's impossible for anyone to reach the realm of sky within a year." "Got it. Anything else?" The scar-faced man had finished, and a cultivator stood to speak up but suddenly froze as he stared outside the window. Everyone followed suit and made similar dazed faces. Zhou Shan spun around to look, his eyes narrowing as he peered outside. Full 0W current novels on NOV3LB in Coim. Dozens of meteors streaked across the sky, leaving fiery trails in their wakes. One of them flew in the direction of Nanjing before landing to the south of the gathering point, shaking the earth. These meteors were more dazzling than fireworks, drawing the attention of countless survivors. Lu Yin had watched the scene with the meteors as well, and from a vantage point much closer than any of the other observers. Having followed his new map to the hills south of Zhongshan, he wasn't far from the landing zone when violent shockwaves blew away the clouds. He watched as the earth cracked and debris flew through the air, having to kick away a piece of metal that shot toward him before looking further south. After a brief moment of contemplation, he dashed in the direction of the crash. Back within Nanjing, the executioner soared into the sky. He was just about to charge south before he was stopped by a report. "Sir, a horde of zombies is charging at the walls." Zhou Shan turned to the east, finding a black mass of zombies heading towards Zhongshan. The city itself had been sealed off in a quick response, but quite a few survivors were left outside, crying out in despair. He grabbed his axe and flew outside the city, striking the ground and destroying a number of zombies with his attack. "Open the gates and let the survivors in. I'll defend the city." To the south, smoke billowed into the sky from the site of the meteor crash. The crater spread 1,000 meters with a white ball at the center, only 2 meters or so in diameter. Equally white smoke was wafting off it, filling the distorted air all around. Lu Yin approached the crater and hid in an abandoned factory nearby, observing the white ball through a crack in a wooden board. Although he had expected an event like this, he was still caught off guard when it actually occurred, a spacecraft. "This is way earlier than I expected."